A civil war is any war fought between people who are a part of the same sovereign nation. This may be a fight for an independent state or a fight for a new government altogether. In the 1860 election, the Republicans, who had Abraham Lincoln as their candidate, were running on a platform against slavery in the territories. Lincoln won the close election. Before he could be inaugurated, 7 slave states seceded from the United States and formed the Confederate States of America. South Carolina was the first state to secede from the United States, or what would be called the Union, during the war. South Carolina would be one of the most vocal of the states that challenged the Union. The first 7 states to secede from the United States formed their own government. The government was called the Confederate States of America and was founded on February 4, 1861. While some Civil War facts are debated, most historians agree that the war started on April 12, 1861, at Fort Sumter. Fort Sumter is located in the middle of the port of Charleston, South Carolina. After Fort Sumter was captured, Lincoln asked for each state in the United States to provide troops to take the fort back from the Confederates. After Lincoln made his request, 4 more states joined the Confederacy. When we think of the United States, we often forget that we did not have all 50 states until the 1900s. 2 new states emerged from the war. On June 20, 1863, the state of West Virginia was born. Nevada, which was a territory at the time, also joined the Union and became a state during the war on October 31, 1864. Benjamin Franklin said that there are only 2 certainties in life, death and taxes. The Revenue Act of 1861 introduced income tax in the United States of America. It was first used to help finance the war against the Confederacy. The Civil War was one of the first wars to be fought on such a large scale. In some ways, it might be considered the first modern or industrial war. Lincoln understood the scope of the war. He took control of the armed forces and declared himself commander-in-chief. This was the first time a president of the United States had done this. The Confederacy was the first to pass a draft law. In 1862 they started a draft that required men aged 18 to 35 to fight on behalf of the Confederate States. Replacements were often used when someone was drafted into the Union. Just like replacement teachers, replacement soldiers were called substitutes. Out of the more than 150,000 men who were drafted, over 100,000 were substitutes. The Union, comprised of the remaining states and territories in the United States that did not join the Confederacy, established a plan to block the Confederacy from getting outside resources. They called their plan the Anaconda Plan. Between 1861 and 1862, no side in the Civil War was clearly winning the war. By 1862, the Confederates had driven north to Maryland where they fought the Battle of Antietam but had to retreat. Perhaps the British were right not to get involved directly in the Civil War. Over the course of the war, 237 battles that were big enough to be named were fought. The end of slavery in the United States is one of the most important Civil War facts and a big reason that the war was fought. During the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation. While most Civil War facts center on the battles that took place on land, there was significant marine combat during the war. Most of this combat took place during blockades and sieges on the Atlantic coast, but there were also some conflicts on rivers. Initially, there was a series of exchanges for prisoners. Soldiers who were captured agreed not to fight and would stay in camps until they were exchanged for soldiers from the opposite side.